What is going on, guys? My name is Stuber, and I'm here to break down game number 2 of the NBA Finals between the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks on Draftkings Fanduel. And of course, the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks.com, is currently a 219.5 over/under. The Suns are 5.5 point favorites. I tend to lean on the under and the Suns covering the spread. The Bucks were shooting 44% from 3, and they only scored 105 points. That's 5% higher than what their normal 3-point percentages throughout the regular and postseason. So I expect Monty Williams to make some adjustments and not give them so many wide open 3 looks. I think the Bucks are going to struggle offensively throughout this series. But yeah, I know it's been a while, guys, but if you guys could subscribe, like this video in the comment below with your favorite play of the day, that would really help me out, help out the algorithm. And of course, I will keep doing these videos for free because not only is this the best time of the year for NBA with the finals and in-game showdowns, on July 16th, the finals blend into the basketball tournament, which is one of the most advantageous contest selections in DFS. And then right after that ends, we will be straight into the NBA Summer League and then NFL's preseason. So a lot of big contests with a ton of edge are coming our way. If you guys haven't joined the Discord already, I really advise you guys to do so. It is completely free. Have about 1,000 members in there. We're providing NBA, UFC, golf, NHL, MLB, anything you could possibly think of. We've got advice for you in there. Link is in the description. It's completely free to join. But from here on out, I will be I did open a Patreon, patreon.com/TaylorSuper. Link is in the description. $25 a month. But if you join right now, you'll get the NBA, the basketball tournament, and I believe some of the NBA Summer League. But only $25 a month. I think that's a fair price. The only reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to limit how many people I allow into it, because the contests aren't going to be as big as the full game NBA slates. And so I just want serious people in there who are serious about taking advantage of this, and I just don't want the advice going to waste. I will be providing free videos and live streams, but if you guys do join that Patreon, you will receive my full FanDuel lineup, pretty much my full DraftKings lineup, with some room for your interpretation to finish that lineup, just to follow the DraftKings guidelines. You will be invited to the in-game showdown group. If you're already in the in-game showdown group, you're completely fine. You don't need to do anything for the in-game stuff. And then I will have a pre-lock live stream as well. So if you guys want to help support me, just go over to patreon.com/TaylorStuber. Link is in the description. Would really appreciate if you guys could support me over there. But if not, that's more than fine. I'm just doing it for a small group of people. So if you guys want to join, feel free to do so. No pressure at all. We'll continue to put out these videos. But yeah, just to recap, game number 1. We had a ton of conviction on Giannis Antetokounmpo playing. He did end up getting ruled in, and he still somehow went incredibly underowned. He only played 35 minutes, which, is a little bit less than I was expecting, but it makes sense coming off an injury. But once I knew that this injury wasn't in any danger of getting re-aggravated, it was more of a pain tolerance thing, I was like, there's no way I'm not playing Giannis. And we almost had the nuts on FanDuel. We were 2 points away from having the nuts over there. Still incredibly profitable. And then on DraftKings, more of the same. If you guys go join the Discord, you can go over to the winning lineups tab, and we have a ton of screenshots in here if you want to check it out, just for proof that we are absolutely crushing it. And that was only game number 1. We're going to have a lot more, I think this game probably only goes to 5. I think the Suns win this series probably in 5. I definitely think they win this game, and then they might drop game number 3 in Milwaukee, but should be a short series in my opinion for the Phoenix Suns. I think they match up so well against the Milwaukee Bucks, and the coaching gap is pretty severe. Even if the Bucks win this series somehow, I still think Budenholzer probably should deserve to get fired at some point in the near future. But I digress. Yeah, so more like the first game, we thought that the Bucks were going to go small with Giannis at the 5, and that's what we saw a ton of in the second half. Giannis, we saw closed at the 5 all over the fourth quarter. Bobby Portis played some of the 4 and then a little bit of the 5 at the end of the third quarter. And then Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis did not see the court in the fourth quarter. And when they were out there with Giannis at the 5, they did lead somewhat of a comeback before eventually losing by 13 points. But they got it within like 7 or 8 points because they went small ball. So if they continue to do this, we're going to want to fade guys like Bobby Portis on FanDuel for sure. DraftKings, they did bring his price down quite a bit, where he is over a fantasy point per minute, and at 3.2K, if he can get 12 to 14 minutes, he can be in the optimal lineup. I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised, but I just struggle to see him getting any more minutes than that, just because Chris Paul is probably the best of all time at getting to getting a defender on him that he wants. And he absolutely tortured them in this last game when he when he was guarded by Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis. He shot 7 for 9, 2 for 2 from 3 for 17 points. And then it was absolute destruction. And then more so of the same with Brook Lopez. DeAndre Ayton's too young, too spry, too fast, too big for him, and was just dominating him on the boards, specifically the offensive boards. And so it didn't make much sense for them to have Brook Lopez out there. But I think DeAndre Ayton, he was our captain last game on DraftKings, and we were pretty close to some takedowns over there if it weren't for Jrue Holiday. I'm going to be going back to the well with him. They brought his price up a bit, but at 9.2K, I still absolutely love him. But if we're going to go from the top bottom, Giannis is by far my biggest lock. I mean, it goes without saying. If people are going to not play him because of his price or because they think that the injury is going to be a problem, I'm going to be more than glad to play him. And then Chris Paul, Devin Booker. I think you need to play one of these guys. You know, Chris Paul had his way in game 1, and I think he's going to have his way in game 2 as well. But I do think that the Bucks are going to make some adjustments, and I think Jrue Holiday is going to be the primary defender on Chris Paul this game, which is going to open up some things for Devin Booker. Not nearly as good of a playmaker or nearly as smart as Chris Paul. But I do think that Booker could get an increase in usage this game, and maybe assist percentage. But I think optimally and in cash, I would side with Chris Paul. But with recency bias, Chris Paul just playing out of his mind in game 1, specifically in the second half, I think that Booker is going to be slightly lower owned. And so with this being a showdown lineup, you want to get a bit different. Cut down your ownership as much as you possibly can without it being an absolutely terrible lineup. Maybe going with Booker over Chris Paul is not the worst idea. And then Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. So I think that I can't play Chris Middleton at 9.8K. I mean, his assist percentage comes back with Giannis back. His rebounding comes down with Giannis out. And so does his usage, of course. He shot really well from 3 in this first game. I think it gets limited in the second game at 9.8K. We could see him used on Devin Booker a lot more this game for defensive reasons, with Jrue Holiday moving over to Chris Paul. You know, this is just my guess. And so I think it's just going to be a massive, massive game from Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know, he only shot 11 times in this game. I think that tends to go upwards more in that 20 field goal attempt range. And so that's going to take away some shots from Middleton and Jrue Holiday. So from these top 3 guys, I'm going to want to play at least Giannis and DeAndre Ayton with one of Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Those are the 3 studs I want, and I want to captain one of those. With this slate, and these 2 teams, I think it's hard to get away with playing a cheap guy in the captain spot in full game. Maybe in fourth quarter or second half showdown, it would make a bit more sense. But DeAndre Ayton is probably the guy. When I'm creating these lineups now, DeAndre Ayton's the guy I'm getting to a lot. I think he's going to play like 40 minutes. You know, there's no Dario Saric. He did, unfortunately, tear his ACL in the first half of that game. We saw DeAndre Ayton come in immediately after Saric exited the game. And then Kaminsky got a short 4-minute stint, but he didn't play in the second half. Excuse me. So my thought process is that I think that Kaminsky might play in the first half, a short stint like this. But when it comes down to it, we're going to see Crowder get some minutes at the 5 like we did in the first half. And the Suns go a bit smaller. like the Milwaukee Bucks, but more so DeAndre Ayton. I think he's just going to play around 40 minutes. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's undervalued. I think he's on par with guys like Middleton and better than Drew Holiday. And you get a discount on him. And, you know, he's just as good as Devin Booker scoring-wise when it comes to fantasy. So I do love the value on DeAndre Ayton. I think that he's one of the most underpriced guys on the slate. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'm fine with fading Brook Lopez. And then with Saric. So Saric was only playing like 10, 11, 12 minutes a game as the backup 5. So Kaminsky could play like 3 or 4 minutes, I suppose. And then the rest of those minutes are probably going to be divvied up between Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig. Doesn't really matter all that much. And then I think Ayton could get an extra minute or two at the 5 when it really comes down to it in the second half. So not the biggest boost from them. But I do think that Jay Crowder at 5.6K is pretty affordable. I think he's going to play like 32, 34 minutes, especially with no Saric, and the possibility of him playing minutes at the 5. And then with the thought process of the Milwaukee Bucks going small again, guys like PJ Tucker, Pat Connaughton, and Bryn Forbes stand to benefit the absolute most. Bryn Forbes only 1.8K, Jeff Teague 1.4K. I think both these guys get some run. So if you're trying to, unfortunately, we don't have a 2.8K Cam Johnson like we did last slate, but you guys can punt with guys like Bryn Forbes or Jeff Teague. If you saw the optimal lineup, Bryn Forbes was he only scored like 7 fantasy points, but he was in the optimal lineup on DraftKings. So don't be afraid to play guys like this, especially in large entry fields where you're going to need to be different to get up there. But PJ Tucker at 4.6K and Connaughton at 4K. I mean, both these guys should play around 30 minutes with them presumably playing small ball. You know, Connaughton played pretty much the last 17 minutes of the game. You know, he's only about like a 0.7 fantasy point per minute player. But if he can get around 30 minutes at $4,000, it's more than affordable. So if you captain a guy like Giannis, Ayton, or Chris Paul and play guys like PJ Tucker and Pat Connaughton, they're going to play like 30 minutes. I really do like going to them. And then campaign Bobby Portis. Now, these guys are probably going to play half the minutes of PJ Tucker and Connaughton, but they are far superior on a per minute basis. Or you can punt with guys like Jeff Teague or Bryn Forbes. FanDuel, I'm pretty much starting my lineups with like this, unless I'm wanting to be a little bit different and I can play Devin Booker instead of Chris Paul, and then I can upgrade my utility spots a bit more. But PJ Tucker continues to only be 7.5K. I think Pat Connaughton at 8K when he's probably going to play like around 28 minutes. I think that's a good play as well. And then Mikal Bridges, he should play in the 30 minutes as well. So I think that he's a good play. Like guys like Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, even campaign at 10K, I think is out of my price range. And then over on Prize Picks, the plays that I really like today are going to be the under on Brook Lopez, just because, you know, he's not the best per minute producer. And I think there's a large possibility that he comes out in the third quarter and doesn't come back. Giannis, over 52.5 fantasy points. I love the over on that. He's a 1.6 fantasy point per minute player, and with me thinking that Drew Holiday and Middleton are going to be used more so for defensive reasons on Booker and Chris Paul, more so than they were in the first game. I think Giannis is going to be the focal point on offense, which weirdly enough he wasn't. He looked healthy when he was out there, so it was weird to me that he wasn't used as much offensively. Only shot 11 times. I think that we're going to see an uptick in his production from Giannis. And then I like the over on DeAndre Ayton at 39 points. I think that he plays around 39 minutes, so if he exceeds a fantasy point per minute, which is easily doable for DeAndre Ayton, I love that. So I'll go ahead and throw $100 on it. So the under on Brook Lopez 26, over on Giannis 52.5, over on DeAndre Ayton 39, and we'll do 100 to win $500. And if you guys use code Taylor TAYLOR when signing up and depositing on Prize Picks, you'll receive a 100% match bonus up to $100 as well. They're just now doing this. I got an email about it the other day. If you sign up with my code, specifically my code, you will, as well as supporting me plus getting that match bonus, you will receive a ticket to this contest where they give you 5 questions. If you answer one of the 5 questions right, which these questions are not easy by any means, but if you answer all 5 right, if you answer 1 right, you receive a $50 free play. If you answer 2 right, you get a $100 free play. If you answer 3 right, you get $1,000 cash. If you answer 4 right, you get $10,000 cash. And if you answer all 5 questions right, you receive $1 million cash. You know, they used to do this for $10,000 if you got all 5 right. Now it's $1 million completely free if you sign up and deposit using my code Taylor, TAYLOR. Make sure to let me know if you guys sign up using that code, and I'll give you something a bit extra, a surprise for you. Make sure to DM me on Twitter, Taylor Stuber. Link is also in the description, or DM me on Discord, and I'll let you know what's up. But I appreciate you guys being here, and no pressure on the Patreon thing. I don't want to like shove that in your guys' face. It's just a bit extra if you guys want to help support me and want a bit more to the point information of what exactly I'm doing on Draftkings Fanduel, and of course Prize Picks. Oh, and as well, that's going to include the this NBA, the in-game, the basketball tournament, NBA preseason, and it will include my UFC content for Draftkings Fanduel and my full UFC betting slip. So there's a big card on this Saturday, a lot of money to be won. Appreciate you guys watching this video. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment anything you want below. It would be much appreciated. Help me out with the algorithm as I get rolling on this thing again. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here. Till next time.